Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Pro Landscaper TV. We're here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. for about 40 minutes to discuss some of the hottest topics in the landscaping industry. Last week, Jim Wilkinson had an in-depth conversation with Sarah Eberly, the most decorated garden designer in RH Chelsea Flower Show history. And you can catch up with that episode and all the previous episodes of Pro Landscaper TV on our YouTube channel. And whilst you're there, please do subscribe to the channel so you can stay on top of all things Pro Landscaper TV. And please do like any of those videos that you like and enjoyed by clicking the thumbs up button on the video. Before we move on to today's episode, I just wanted to let you know about some upcoming episodes we have on the horizon. Next week, Jim Wilkinson is joined by Steve Wally of London Stone, one of the most popular stone supply companies in the market. And Steve and Jim will be speaking about London Stone's creation, its ethos, ethics and values, and some of its proudest moments, and the future of the business. So be sure to watch that one. In 2 weeks' time, we're joined by Alison Warner and Nick Ruddle for a business workshop. These two experts will share their screen to discuss some must-dos when running a business in the landscaping sector. So that'd be a really good one to join. Following that, we're going to be taking a short break over the summer from these live webinars, but there will be a special Pro Landscaper TV episode going live on YouTube every Tuesday throughout July and August. These episodes will feature the latest technology, a look into some of the suppliers to the industry, and we'll also have some interviews from some of the most exciting businesses in the sector. So now it is time to move on to today's episode, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Ground Control CEO Simon and Managing Director Jason. And I wondered if we could just start by if you two could sort of introduce what you do at the company and how long you've been there.
Certainly. So I joined Ground Control in 2004. My wife and I and 4 directors at the time did what's called a BIMBO at the time, which was buy-in management buyout. So we bought Ground Control, or the majority of Ground Control, from the owner, who was Steve Harrod, who founded it in 1974. Really, I was managing director for up until 2011. When I handed over that role to Marcus Watson, who did a fabulous job for the next 9 years. And then we did another handover to Jason. So Jason joined us in September of last year, did a really, really good handover with Marcus for 4 months, and took the reins at the beginning of January. And I'm super excited that he's taken over. Really, really pleased with that transition. I think I've universally heard what an incredible change that's been, and yeah, excited to be able to introduce Jason. In terms of my role now, you know what, I'm here to sort of help set the vision and to ensure that we uphold and we deliver on the values. So my phone is always on. I'm always happy to speak to everybody and to try and help support Jason in truly running an incredible business and being somewhere that everyone's proud to work with and deliver an absolutely incredible job to customers. Anyway, over to you, Jason.
Thanks, Tom. Yes, so I started here in September, which was great. So I had a 4-month transition with Marcus, which was thought through and planned, because my previous background was coming from construction and engineering, where whilst I was running businesses in those sectors, I wasn't au fait with the landscaping sector. So what it enabled me to do for 4 months was learn and understand the business, really get to grips with the people, the culture, what the organisation's all about, and then enable a nice transition where they took the stabilisers off in January, and Marcus took a nice transition into a non-exec role on the board. And then I took over as managing director. And what it's really enabled is complete continuity. It's kept all the staff and the business nice and calm, because Marcus has done a fantastic job and he's going nowhere. So he's taken a nice transition to a non-exec role, which actually is a transition in its own right. You're kind of moving from a leader to an advisor and moving from 100 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour. So I think that was a nice transition for Marcus as well. And for me, just sort of slowly getting into the business, understanding the business, and taking the reins. It enabled me as well to be very internalized, which is really important. So just looking at the business, looking at the people, understanding how it ticks, taking the advantage of the lessons learned of the past, and also bringing in new ideas, which I'm going to drive into the future. So we managed to get the best of both worlds. And the transition might seem odd, me coming from construction and engineering, but my background is engineering and obviously environmental engineering. So I've really focused on buildings, engineering, low energy, building efficiency. So wandering onto the carbon, caring for the environment, the transition is actually easier than you think, because it's very much aligned in terms of building a building. We're still caring for the environment, but obviously working in this sector, caring for the environment, is exactly the same. So I've now been a managing director since January, and we're really moving forward and driving forward. It's really exciting times for the business, and it's a real good platform to leap into the future. And obviously with coronavirus, COVID, it's been quite difficult because our office has been closed since I started. Like everyone's offices have been closed. So I've met more people virtually than face to face. And whilst there's some disadvantages of that, where in terms of a sensory meeting people and really getting a feel of them, it's actually enabled me to meet a lot of people very quickly. And it's enabled me also to sort of make some changes and get things in place quite quickly as well, where arranging meetings, getting face to face previously would have been awkward. The only slight difficulty is the externalization of my role, which now, in terms of customers, clients, hopefully as things open up, we can start that process. But no, it's been a great 9 months almost now, and I'm really looking forward to the years ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll fly by, and we'll talk about some of the exciting things you guys are working on in the future in a bit. But so ground control became carbon neutral this year, but obviously it's something that's been in the works for years. And Simon, I wondered if you could just talk to us about some of those first conversations that were had. How did ground control begin on this journey to carbon neutrality?
Certainly. So this has been something I've been passionate about for a long time. And one of the first things I did when I joined ground control was to move our whole sort of ethos was around to caring for our environment. And so that was added as a strap line. And there was a number of things that we did early on to try and either reduce carbon footprint or really do the right thing for the environment, from early purchases of Priuses instead of hybrid electric vehicles, and renewable energy in offices and things like that. So there was a lot that was done, but I only did it where it also made economic sense. And because I wasn't the only shareholder, and it's everybody in the business is a shareholder through both their share options and buying into the business, which I always felt was incredibly important to align values. What I couldn't do was start doing things that were probably more of a sort of passion of mine that weren't necessarily economically in the right interests for the business. And so outside ground control, I did an enormous amount of things to help the environment and set up things. Over the last few years, however, I've pushed this a lot more within ground control, and we opened up the Evergreen Fund about 2.5 years ago, where we've contributing 5% of all our profits to both tree planting in protected areas, and also for carbon reduction initiatives that companies are running. And when we first tried to roll this out, actually a couple of years earlier, there was some resistance from sort of some members on the board at the time. And when we got it through around two years ago and announced it to the business, we were overwhelmed with a response from everybody. And bluntly, it was something that was long overdue, and I wish I'd done it earlier. The level of engagement that we've had from almost universally in the business about how important this is and about how important the things that we're trying to do are has been really heartwarming in that respect. One of the other things we've done is try to roll out electric vehicles across the fleet, and so really that started early with early purchases of Teslas, which are, from my perspective, the leading electric vehicles out there. And we've now got over 100 in the fleet. And how we've managed to arrange this is all our managers now have the option of coming out of the company car, and so they've moved in from Ford Focuses into sort of Model 3 Teslas, and actually we're able to do that at a slight improvement to their take-home package and at a zero cost to us as a business. And bearing in mind the additional safety features that these cars have, and I think everybody universally has been really pleased to drive them. This has been an incredible success for us and has helped us go along this path for carbon neutral.
And what were some of the biggest challenges that you came across when becoming carbon neutral, would you say?
I think I'll help with that, because obviously coming on board, what I've seen in terms of carbon neutral is about understanding your carbon footprint. And the slight challenge, like so we partnered and aligned ourselves with the Carbon Trust, which is an annual process, and they model your footprint, verify it, and then obviously you need to align yourself with a carbon reduction plan. The great advantage of what we had, because of what Simon and Marcus put in place 2-3 years before, and just in terms of our behaviours and our education, we were actually in stealth bringing our carbon footprint down anyway, in terms of the energy we're using, how we're using it, and even going further afield, which is our next step in terms of utilising the proximity of our field team so they don't travel as far, so the density is better with the way we're placing projects. As a business, we've always been thinking about the environment, and whilst thinking about that, just generally reducing in terms of our energy, but also in that was about training and educating our people in terms of why it's important. So the learning is a difficulty. However, then understanding your carbon footprint is difficult. So that's where we needed help. Initially, we had a plan to be carbon neutral in 2 or 3 years' time. But when we got hold of the Carbon Trust and we worked well with them, and we realised all the hard work we'd already done, and we got our carbon footprint very clearly defined, it was actually easier than we thought. So which enabled us to get the carbon neutrality a couple of years earlier than we initially planned, but it was because of all the hard work that had previously been done. So I think the main difficulty in doing it is understanding what data you have to collect, how you verify that, what your footprint is. And then once you know that, it's the journey following that for your own business is actually not too difficult.
Yeah, and to be specific, I mean, we're probably almost always going to have some carbon that we're going to emit, and we still do today. So clearly there are vehicles out on the road. There's carbon that we emit every day, and so that balancing item that's verified by the Carbon Trust, we then pay for offsets. So we partner with other organisations that have verifiable removal of carbon from the atmosphere. And so both for 21 and we went back to 2020 financial year as well, we paid for those carbon offsets so that our overall journey is, well, our overall as a company, we are carbon neutral. Clearly, the next step is net zero, and that's to ensure that our entire supply chain is also net zero as well, and carbon neutral. And so that's what we're working towards now, and we want to try and get that as soon as possible, and working with all our suppliers to ensure that we do that soon. And certainly it's something that our customers are really pleased to see.
I think that's something we're really passionate about, and a lot of that is about educating our supply chain, our field teams, supporting them in moving to electrical hand tools, which we've got some real commitment. By 2025, we want everyone using electrical hand tools, and there's a little bit of technology we need support with in terms of vehicles, some of the bigger bits of kit in terms of gritting, etc., where they need to take a journey, so the electrical vehicles can support the philosophy that we're driving. But obviously we want to be driving that with them, so we're getting to the net zero as soon as we can, and we're just addressing that now in our strategy, because we want to work out what is the most viable date, whilst being market leading, where we can attain that. There's dates in the market where people are stating 2030, and obviously we want to beat that, and we're looking about how much we can beat that in terms of our steps to net zero. But a lot of that works in terms of how we grow our supply chain, and also the technology around that.
I can see a few questions have come in, but I will look at them at the end of it. So keep sending them in, and I'll read some of them out at the end. So in a previous Pro Landscaper TV, it was a climate change debate episode, the idea of greenwashing was brought up, and we'd love for you guys to just help our viewers understand what greenwashing is and why this is far from what ground control is doing.
I think greenwashing is a label that's given to companies that basically fudge this, and so either by doing things that they're already doing anyway, or by taking steps that actually don't really aren't genuinely towards helping to get to net zero. For us, it's super important that we walk the talk, and we do exactly what we say we're going to do. So, and that's why we partnered with the Carbon Trust, to make sure that that everything we've done is verified, and we're able to demonstrate that.
Just to reiterate, I think ground control is a wonderful values-driven business, and the way we approach things, and we generally care about the environment is what we do, and it's our main cause. So for us, we're being proactive with reducing our carbon emissions in terms of how we go and how we approach things, and the carbon neutrality and the net zero as an outcome. So that is our journey, where we're being proactive to it. I think the other context which you're talking about with the greenwashing is like a bit more reactive. So they're being reactive to get a label rather than proactive in terms of a way of working. So our value proposition is the way we work. We care for the environment. It's what we're driving to be. And the carbon neutrality is an outcome of where we are as a culture, and also where we're going to net zero, rather than being reactive to get a label. And I think that's a cultural differentiator in terms of how we hold that.
Fantastic. And for any companies watching who want to achieve carbon neutrality, especially the smaller companies, what advice do you have for them?
For me, I think there's a few things to look at. You can basically look at why, how, what. I think you need to understand why, really, why you care and why you believe. because that's certainly a top-down approach with vision, and that's been driven here certainly really strongly by Simon in terms of the belief, the vision, the business care about it. So a bit of advice: when your business care about it and they're part of it culturally, it's an easier journey. And then it's about investing and educating. So the culture of your organization understands why we're doing it, why you want to do it, and in terms of doing things for the better good. And then you can create a plan. And then as leaders, you need to influence and act. Our process of being carbon neutral wasn't coincidence, and it wasn't a short thing. It started 4 or 5 years ago with our journey in terms of density of field teams, moving to Teslas. It was a very proactive journey, and it was thought through. So my advice is understand why you're doing it, invest and educate your people to bring them on the journey with you. As leaders, walk the path and be genuine and authentic with it, and act and have a very clear plan and follow it. Also, align yourselves with certain experts in the market, because you can disappear down rabbit holes if you're not careful. And getting good advice, good verification, and good processes as out there now, which I'd really encourage people to embrace to get the support that they need to have.
Yeah, and Carbon Trust was very helpful to us in terms of our journey, and so would certainly recommend anybody engaging with them, or there are other outfits out there as well.
Fantastic. And Ground Control is now working towards becoming net zero. So what steps have you put in place so far? What plans have you got to move towards this? Is it more of the same?
Yeah, I think there's two things we're doing. We have a strategy to net zero, which is really important, and then that forms part of our environmental strategy. So it is one facet of that, which also links with biodiversity as well, which is also very important. So obviously taking something out and putting something in, the add and emit cycle. With that, we've also aligned ourselves for some support in terms of advice, what's really important in terms of phasing with Cambridge University. So again, we've learned from our past, and we're aligning ourselves with experts, which makes ourselves an internal expert in terms of capability to take us on the journey. So our environmental strategy now aligned with carbon and our journey to net zero, and also biodiversity are running in parallel. So we're now in a process of working back the dates, which is viable, because with carbon neutrality, you're talking about yourself. It's you're in control of yourself, and you know where you are, and you know all the facets. But obviously the journey to net zero is all the external members and external field teams, etc., that we utilize as well. So there's a journey of education, technology, and complete alignment, and understanding that if we cannot get that alignment, what is the offset requirement we will need as well. So we're having a process now where we're going to understand that, what that will be. Then we're going to set the dates in the coming months where we're going to get the net zero plan also aligned with our plan associated with the biodiversity, and then we're going to act and plan it and deliver it. So once we've got a proper plan, we'll follow that through in the next 3 years. Yeah.
And certainly we've got every intention. We would like to be net zero by 2025, and that's what we're going to aim for. And we want to make sure that actually all our suppliers can come on that journey with us as well.
Perfect. Right, I'm going to go to some of the audience questions now. I'm just going to work my way through. Somebody has asked, what things have you not been able to change that you now offset, e.g. diesel chainsaws and the like?
Yeah, so some of our larger fleet, so our larger pieces of kit, we have not been able to change yet. So the larger vehicles, and we're currently trialing some out, but bluntly, they're not as advanced as say the passenger vehicles and other things which we have. We're almost fully changed over now. So we've got very few diesel petrol vehicles left in the fleet now. Most of our managers have got are in electric vehicles. Again, we're moving all the sort of hand tools. We're moving rapidly towards electric vehicles where we electric tools where we can. But it's a journey.
Yeah, and the tooling. So the tooling we're really pushing hard for 2023 to get complete 100% utilization with electrical tooling. But this is certainly where our R&D are working hard with manufacturers to help support them in terms of the utilization of technology to give the customer the service that we continue to give whilst trying to use tools that are electric rather than diesel. And the problem is within our tool range, which we need, there's certain ones that aren't there yet, and there's certain ones that aren't. And it's unfortunately it's the larger sit-on mowers, etc., which they haven't got them due to torque, battery capacity, so forth. So that's a journey, and hopefully we're following that journey with them, and we're swapping them over. First stage is electrical tooling, which we're doing now. And then the larger bits of kit, hopefully they can come on board as soon as they can.
And can I add that actually it's up to all of us to create demand for both these vehicles, these ride-on mowers, or all the different machinery that's going to require on there. And so it does require all of us to have early adoption, because if manufacturers see that the demand profile is out there from the likes of companies like Ground Control and many of our other colleagues in other companies, then they will fast track that and speed it forward. So it's really behoove upon all of us to push and to get this as quickly as possible, and to demand that they make those changes and stop producing some of the diesel vehicles, because the technology is there. It's just a question of actually bringing it forward.
And somebody has asked the size of your fleet and approximately how many vehicles need to be converted. Do you have those?
We have 100 Teslas, don't we, Simon?
Yeah, just over 100 Teslas now in the fleet, and I think we've got passenger vehicles is around about 160, 170 off the top of my head. So we're most of the way there on the passenger vehicles, and we're currently I caught up with our head of fleet this week, and we've got, I think, 10 on order per month to sort of change the rest of those. So that's where we are there. We have not made as much progress on the larger vehicles. We've got a number in order, but it's getting the right vehicles on there, and so I think we've got about another 300 sort of transit vans and others which we have not made the level of progress we need to yet, and that's basically because the vehicles aren't out there that are completely suitable, or they're only just coming out.
Yeah, we're looking at different options as we go. We've got a few visits coming in the next few months, actually, with the plan really Q1 next year. Hopefully we'll be in a position where we can start looking at that transition. But clearly, in terms of our passenger fleet with our employees, all new employees coming on board now are certainly going electric, and as we're growing, we're replacing the old ones, so that will continue to grow as we grow.
I was at the Arrival factory earlier this year, so they are starting to produce these trucks, and they're not going to have something available for us probably until Q4 this year. And so all of these are, whether it's Ford, whether it's Renault, all of it, they've got long lead times. And actually, I think it's great because there's a lot of demand for them as well. But it's making sure that the right one for each of our teams.
Brilliant. Somebody has also asked how much it costs you to work with Carbon Trust.
I don't have the exact figures in terms of for Carbon Trust, but not a huge amount. Certainly, I think it was in the five-figure category, and obviously we're a £100+ million business. So for smaller businesses, I'm sure it will be a lot lower. And then obviously we have to pay for the carbon offsetting as well, which actually was, because of all the work we've done to reduce carbon where we can, was actually surprisingly not as much as I thought it would be. And so I saw one of the questions on there, and we've split that both between offsetting here in the UK and offsetting abroad as well. And so we've partnered with certified providers who are doing tree planting and various other things around the world.
Fantastic. And somebody has asked about, so you've given a little bit of advice, what you suggest to other companies, but they also asked how you market this to your customers.
Well, we're starting that. We're starting that now, and well, we're going out to all our present customers with our client cams and our client teams, and telling them what we're doing, and also telling them how we can help them on that journey as well with our customers. In all honesty, something we probably need to work on and do a little bit heavier is our marketing. One of our strengths and weaknesses is we tend sometimes to get on, sort it out, and we don't perhaps sell it as much as we do ourselves. So it's something we're looking at doing now. We're going to all our client base. We're talking about what we're doing, and also some of them are making commitments now to net zero by 2030, obviously. So they, with us being one of their main subcontractors, they'll often need us on their journey with us. So what's really exciting now is people are talking about it more, people are collaborating more about it, and it's part of people's day-to-day. I really felt with this 2 or 3 years ago, people spoke about it but didn't walk the walk, but now people are believing it, understanding it, and doing it. So these are exciting times where this is one of the primary conversations we're having, obviously along with health and safety.
Yeah, and I think the important thing for me is that we've been doing this long before this was cool, or this was a big topic to do. So we're probably a lot further along the journey than many. And bluntly, I mean, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do for our planet. Okay, not because it's something that our customers want, or because that will help our sales. I do think it will going forward, and I think many of our customers are really engaged with what we're doing. But at the end of the day, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do, not because it's for marketing for our customers.
Brilliant. Somebody else asked, as well as being net zero, do you look at nature-based solutions so that what you are doing in landscaping maintenance is biodiverse friendly?
Yes, we try and do that as much as we possibly can. So we have a number of ecologists on as part of our team, and we always try and bring them in to look at the very best solutions for clients in terms of what they want. Recently, as part of the Evergreen Fund, we just purchased a 300-acre farm in Essex, which we're looking to fully sort of rewild, plant trees, and actually and be a showcase for our clients in terms of what can be done as part of this journey. So we're all super excited about that. And if you want to come and plant some trees this winter, then let us know.
That's what we said earlier, like the biodiversity piece and the carbon piece are hand in hand, and we're really focusing on both going forward along, obviously.
Fantastic. Simon, you were saying that you managed to find a way of changing petrol cars into Teslas at no extra cost to your business. How exactly did you achieve this?
So the government have brought out 0, or I think it's 1% benefit in kind for electric vehicles. And so what we did was we looked at the existing fleet of Ford Focuses that managers were in, and what benefit in kind they were paying. And we gave them the option to take a salary sacrifice for the Tesla, such that their net take home was higher than their net take home was before the change to the Tesla. So they effectively had the option of having the previous vehicle, or having a Tesla and taking slightly more net take home. So with the salary sacrifice and the much lower operating costs of a Tesla versus a diesel car, over a 5-year period, that should be about cost neutral to us as a business. Clearly, initially there was quite a bit of skepticism from managers. I had one of my directors come up to me about a year ago and said, "Oh, Simon, can I have a Tesla, please?" I won't name your name, Alistair, at all, and say, "Oh, can I have one now?" And I know I said I would never be seen dead in one of your milk floats, but actually I had a go in one of my manager's cars, and they are incredible. So yes, please. So it's been a journey of education and the ability to be able to offer this. So it's very much helped by the government tax on benefit in kind.
I think there's a cost to the business as well, something that's apparent, where I've been in charge previously of more traditional fleets. The safety features on the Teslas are really helpful as well. So the amount of accidents that we're having as a business, considering we've got in excess of 100, is very few. And when you look at the running costs and how that adds to your insurance, etc., going forward, once you have those assets in your business, which hold their value very well as well, the running costs are low, obviously, because it's electric, and then equally less accidents. Holding a fleet in this way is actually good for your business as well, taking it forward, as well as cost effective for your employees. So it's a mutual benefit.
Fantastic. And there's a few questions just around sharing learnings on electrical tooling or industry contacts. Somebody at MIT has asked if you could share those so that they can help create the demand on a united front.
Yeah, I think if they come to me in contacting them, I think the more collaboration we can get onto this, holding hands and go driving for the better good, is really important. So definitely come to me, we can get together, we'll share our learnings, what we're doing, and hopefully drive the point that Simon made earlier about getting more demand and manufacturers to support to take it to the next step. So contact me and I'll deal with that and help all I can.
And have you got an email address they can send any questions to?
Yes, jason.knights@ground-control.co.uk. So if they send that to me, or go onto our website and they'll see the link to me anyway.
Fantastic. I think that's quite a good point to leave it on. I'm really sorry if I didn't get around to any questions, but I'm sure you guys will be willing to answer them if you've got an email across any questions you do have. Thank you both so much for joining me today. That was really interesting, and I think it was very useful for all of our participants as well. So make sure you join us next week, where Jim will speak to Steve Wally from London Stone. And please do like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of our videos if you're watching on YouTube now, or any of our other platforms. And yeah, tune in next week. Thank you again, Jason, Steve, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.